Good day and good choice of you to tune into this EHEDG Connects news update that is covering a very relevant topic within the hygienic engineering and design world, namely the integrating of hygienic entities. Working group Integrating Hygienic Entities is about to publish a new guideline on this topic, Guideline 34, and with us today is the chairman of this working group, Roland Cocker. Roland, congratulations to you and to all of your working group members with reaching this milestone.
Thank you.
Why is this guideline so relevant in these times?
When we started the first edition of this guideline, almost all the EHEDG guidelines were about equipment. And what you could see in the marketplace and in the business is that, unfortunately, despite the fact that we have guidance on what things should look like, even equipment that was certified as hygienic was frequently combined or installed in a way that creates hazard to hygiene. For example, a wrong orientation preventing drainage.
First of all, what is the scope of this guideline?
The target audience for this is all those who are stakeholders in making or operating or paying for a hygienic device or systems project. So that includes end users, designers, installers, manufacturers, people who maintain it, people who operate it, cleaners, etc., and their management and the project team members. The scope covers cost-effective integration of entities by a phased process up to right from materials of construction up to including enterprise-level organizations for the manufacture and supply of food products.
As soon as you combine components, it gets very complex. So how did you manage to put this complexity into one guideline update?
I looked at the way experts in the field operated, and I also we also looked at industries that have related hygiene challenges and at the solutions they developed in terms of guidance on procedural guidance. And then further, we looked at safety critical industries. So how do industries like aerospace, for example, manage safety and critical risks? And then we put all that together. We also took not just approaches, but also we adopted terminology used in in related industries. So we weren't reinventing the wheel. For instance, in automation, we used the design standard for batch automation, S88, for the language that's used.
Mm-hmm. Now,
a lot of food processes now are, of course, batch processes and are automated.
You try to implement it in the food industry culture, but this is a different culture. People are probably not used to communicate in such a formal way, because in the end, we're talking also about communication, right?
Yes. Yes.
How do you think industries are going to actually implement this guideline?
Well, I think for some of the people involved in the industry, they're already doing it. The automation specialists, for instance, they already use the V model. I think one thing I noticed that's a difference between, say, pharmaceutical and food is that in the pharmaceutical CGMP, the management of change is very well developed. In fact, pharmaceutical GMP was initiated because small changes to processes killed people. So in the food industry, I see that people aren't as good at spotting what are significant changes and don't have such a formal system, a powerful system for avoiding such dangerous events.
Okay, but this guideline could mean that it could be the first step to change that.
Yes. The scope covers everything from which materials of construction to use, which parts to use, how to integrate parts and materials of construction into larger things, how to integrate given units into lines, and so on. So it's not just for big complex systems. It could be something like a pump or a valve.
Are there specific steps in the process where you have to be extra careful to not make a mistake?
During the design phase, you first of all have to make sure you have comprehensive and accurate user requirements or stakeholder requirements. Often stakeholders will have what we call hidden or latent needs. So there has to be extra effort and techniques to draw out those hidden needs. During the design phase then, we actually verify each phase against the previous one. And that has to be done quite carefully, because the ultimate in this chain of events is that you can satisfy the original stakeholder or user requirements.
Yes, and that's why we have this V model that comes together with these user requirements on the top, right?
One of the important things in a hygienic project is that you don't start the implementation phase. You control that very tightly. We call it design freeze. Until the design is completely agreed by everyone and has been checked back against the preceding design phases to make sure it can satisfy the user requirements. If you start trying to design and alter things whilst you're implementing and building, that tends to be very expensive and very prone to failure. And then during the implementation phase, you're carrying out various challenges and so on. We call them verification and validation, qualification, to make sure that all the entities work together properly to produce a hygienic result. That can include things like the training of the people. It can be the analytical procedures. It can be the operating instructions. It can be all sorts of things, not just equipment. They all have to be reliable and unambiguous and accurate to give you the right result without extra cost, extra environmental damage, and without catastrophic failures.
We're looking forward to the actual publication that will be ready for download within, foreseeable future. We're talking about weeks or months now, right?
I'm looking at almost the final edit, which will be returned with our responses to the peer review. It's been modified in response to the peer review, and we've given our explanations of what we've done. And then it goes to the Secretariat and will eventually be published. That shouldn't take too long.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of all EHEDG members when I say thank you, Roland Cocker, and all of your group members for your hard work and for developing this valuable and very relevant guideline. And because this topic is so relevant, dear viewers, we are planning to generate some extra content, some industry stories in the last quarter of this year that focuses on system integration. It's one of our focus topics this year. Roland Cocker, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Rob. Goodbye.